Danny Lachenmayer from North Dakota State, who, by the way, you went up against last season. If you remember early in the season, LSU faced off against NDSU in a 2-game midweek. I think it was like a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday. Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. But Lachenmayer last year had a 2.37 ERA in 24 appearances with 38 innings pitched, 9 saves, 56 strikeouts, and only 18 walks. The big left-handed pitcher, when he was in Baton Rouge this year, struck out Hernandez, Fry, and Curiel when we saw him in his appearance. Look, it's very clear, and we talked about this last night, that LSU was going to, at the beginning of this, it's like we kind of knew something, but in the beginning of this, and as we talked about on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and now tonight, LSU is going to quickly go after arms in the portal. I think that Jay Johnson last year, through conversations with Nate Yeskie, conversations with Jamie Tutco, conversations in general, Jay was given an opinion by staff and agreed with them on the direction of what they need to do from a pitching aspect. And guys, quite honestly, I mean, since Nate Yeskie has gotten here, in the last 2 seasons, you've led the country in strikeouts. I don't mean this in any kind of way, and some of you still might not like some of the pitch selection that Nate Yeskie has. Guys, that is elite. That is elite. It would be like, for me, a defensive coordinator in football leading the country in sacks the last 2 years, right? Like in any category that you want, interceptions, whatever you want to talk about, whatever the football analogy of it would be. And I could be wrong on what analogy that we need to get to there. But the one thing is for sure, there have been a little bit of some philosophy changes, and every single time that Jay Johnson is brought up at a press conference and asked about Nate Yeskie, guys, the last 4 times, because I know this because our social media team produced the clips and brought the clips out there to social media. He's constantly saying at all times that he is the best pitching coach in the country. And guys, quite honestly, I don't know if he's not wrong. So what's very interesting about Danny Lachenmayer and about these midweek games, you brought in a guy last year that you faced off against once, and Jacob Myers. And be honest with you, I thought Jacob Myers got better as the season went on. I kind of wish if there is a guy that throws 100 that does come back, that it is him. But you saw this kid. And the mental note for you to go back out there from a game in February and say, bro, that dude struck out 3 really freaking good hitters. Derek Curiel, Ethan Fry, and Luis Hernandez. Say what now? Say what now? Do any of you in this chat believe that Derek Curiel and Ethan Fry stink? Because I don't. Well, Blake, it was early in the season. I don't give 2 Rudy Poos when it was. Now, the thing that I like about Lachenmayer is the walks that he did not allow in 30 innings pitched. Averaged about a half of a walk per inning. Around the zone a lot. And guys, if you want to know if he can play in this league, guys, quite honestly, you saw it against your own damn self. Baseball is not a sport. And we have been proven this year. We've got it proven last year by national title winners, but even national title contenders. I think of a situation where in 2024, you had A&M that got to the College World Series final against Tennessee, and guys, they had 3 people from Ivy League schools that were on their team and absolutely did some wonderful things. I think about all the situations that you had last year. Guys, Anthony Ianson. Now, Anthony Ianson was a little bit different. He was built a little bit different, but you get the point that I'm making. A dude that dominated at a lower school and came here and dominated even more. When you have a situation in baseball, when you see a kid and he goes up against the national title winning team, does Danny Lachenmayer, and he does what he does, you put an asterisk next to it. And so, damn. And, it's interesting because I remember the SEC title game or SEC tournament when Jay was talking about Ole Miss. And a kid that hadn't thrown all year came in and shoved against LSU. And the first thing out of Jay Johnson's mouth in the press conference was, that kid's going to get drafted. I hadn't seen him. I don't know who he is, but that dude is good. That dude is good. It should send signals that, man, you know what? Jay's always recruiting. He's always recruiting in post games, but even in the game, putting an asterisk. Hey, man, if this kid goes in the portal, this kid's got SEC stuff. The thing about Danny Lachenmayer that I think is also very interesting is, look, he had 24 appearances, 38 innings. 38 innings, but he had 9 saves. It will be interesting to see what he does in reference to what he can look like and do and produce at LSU, because he produced against you. And there's one thing that I think is very key here. The thing that I think is very key here is it would be one thing if LSU was just offering this kid, because he went to Arkansas. He had a Florida offer. He had an Ole Miss offer. I'm unclear if he had a Texas offer, but Tennessee people were talking about that he had a Tennessee offer. Now, I can't confirm that Tennessee and Texas, but I know for a fact that he was at Arkansas, and I know for a fact that Florida really wanted him, because you have some of the premier teams in the SEC really wanting Danny Lachenmayer. The big thing for this is simple for me, and I think it's very key. I think that Jay Johnson learned a lesson in 2023 when he won a national title when it came to the portal. What to say, what to do, what he would do when he got back to Omaha and he had to recruit the portal, and what he wouldn't do in that situation. I think the big thing was that Jay quickly pivoted on how he does things. Guys, Danny Lachenmayer was in Arkansas last week. He was in Arkansas. So when you were playing in the final, when you were trying to win a national title, the team that you just beat was trying to get Danny Lachenmayer on their campus and to be on their team. And it's not as if Dave Van Horn has ever really sucked at recruiting. And then not only that, but recruiting in the sense of pitching. Games in recruiting, when you have an elite program, and I brought this up the other day, when you have, and you are the elite program in the country, maybe LSU football or LSU basketball or whoever, for certain recruits, they can't beat out school X. Guys, in baseball, you're the school that teams can't beat out for. Now, there will be some certain situations for certain kids. Guys, this kid was in Arkansas last week, and quite honestly and humbly, Dave Van Horn and company got shoved in a locker after you went 4-1 against them. I think what's going to be said, if there's anything that you hear from me tonight, is that if there's one thing that we will hear about Jay Johnson coming out of this portal run, is how he adjusted from when he did it in 2023. That in and of itself is and will be a massive thing moving forward, because your coach is always adapting. Always adapting. Now, in reference to Danny Lachenmayer, I shared the clip when he played against us. Guys, his off-speed shit, his location, the movement, the just outright nastiness that he has as a lefty, coming from the far left side of the rubber, where he's throwing a slider at Derek Curiel's shoulder as a left-handed hitter, and it's almost to the other's batter's box, and it's got that much movement. And people are like, and hitters, really elite hitters, are like, holy shizite, what is going on here? This kid's good, man. He's very, very, very good. His off-speed stuff and location and what he wants to do was really elite a year ago. I love that the walks are down. It is tough in this league, though. And listen, he's going to have to adjust to some really good hitters for LSU. He's going to have to really adjust to going up against them at bat, week by week. You know, I think of Connor Ware and Jay saying nobody was better in the fall than Connor Ware. Well, LSU just really struggled against lefties. But this kid was wanted by everybody. And he struck out some really good hitters to do it against you. So if you want to know if the kid can do it, the all-speed stuff is disgusting. From a left-handed version, the velocity was not necessarily massively high from a fastball, but, man, it stayed on an even plane a lot and kind of looked like it rose. So I think this kid has a lot of talent. I think that he is a diamond in the rough that you can mold, and let's see what Nate Yeskie will be able to do with Danny Lachenmayer. But a very, very big – guys, this is the fourth text that I've gotten about Ace Reese in 12 minutes, by the way, of everybody reacting to Ace Reese. Goodness gracious alive. Goodness gracious alive. Man, maybe we do need to monitor that. And people that – this is coming from Mississippi State's people. Boy, that would be something. All right. Lachenmayer was not the only left-handed pitcher that Jay Johnson and Nate Yeskie were able to get today, as they also got Tennessee redshirted left-handed pitcher RER Smart. I got to be real with you. I do not know much about him. I do know this, guys, and I will say this. If you go to Tennessee and Jay Johnson and Nate Yeskie think that you're good enough to pitch here, I'm really interested to see what happens. I would wonder why this kid redshirted. You know, we'll see. You know, I think that is definitely a question on him, because I am just giving LSU and Jay Johnson clearly the benefit of the doubt here. But you, again, as I would say, you cannot get enough left-handed pitching. This is what I would assume here. This is what I'd assume on RER Smart. Guys, these agents talk, and I think that Nate Yeskie and Jay Johnson clearly know a lot about this kid because he was just a freshman and probably wanted him. And I think now that they have an opportunity to do it. And here's the truth about Tennessee right now, if you haven't been paying attention. The truth about Tennessee baseball right now is they are having a mass exodus of pitchers. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if Tony's just telling all of them to leave. And listen, I saw some LSU fans saying it's crumbling around Tony Vitello. I got to tell you, I'm not in that camp with you. If you think that, I am just not in that camp with you. So I do think, though, that there was some massive issues with Frank, their pitching coach, and I think a lot of kids do not want to be a part of that. I can tell you one thing that I heard from a very close source today that is in one of the highest levels in the business when it comes to baseball. A lot of people have grown a little bit weary of the culture at Tennessee because of the sense of how Tony handled losing. I still think Tony Vitello is a great coach. I think that he is going to be and will be, when it's all said and done, one of the better coaches that we've seen. I think that you all may not like him, and it's fine not to like him. You also have to acknowledge that he's a really good coach. I don't know if he is Jay Johnson. I don't think he's Jay Johnson, for what it's worth. I do think, though, that guys, he was in a super regional after winning a World Series. I mean, he had the SEC Pitcher of the Year. They will do some good things and will continue to do some good things at Tennessee. I am monitoring the situation at Tennessee about all those guys leaving. You do get RER Smart on Monday, or if we do another show, we will talk about more about him. But that breaking, I don't know enough about him to comfortably come out here and say that I know. So I am going to digress on that and go get information on him. There are some other guys, and I need to pull up the forum here. I'm telling you, if you guys are not on the forum, you need to be on the forum. Listen, it's the best place to be. Because listen, I know people say, well, Blake, there's not a lot of stuff that you're posting for football recruiting. Well, guys, they ain't done nothing. They haven't done anything in the very. Everybody was on me about Bo Bentley, by the way. Blake, why aren't you talking about Bo Bentley? I told you 3 months ago that I thought he was going to Oklahoma, and nobody and so stupid, so stupid. I don't know why people do that. All right, so let's go through some other guys that I think that, or for me, that I'm keeping my eyes on here in the next couple of days when it comes to LSU, and especially when it comes to the transfer portal. And for some reason, my notes will not open. But there is another left-handed pitcher that I am keeping my eyes on here. It is Oregon's own left-handed pitcher, Santiago Garcia. Last season in Oregon had a 4.20 ERA. It also had 24 appearances with 30 innings pitched, gave up 18 hits, 14 earned runs, 19 walks in those 30 innings, and 40 strikeouts. Here's the thing that with Santiago Garcia, where a lot of people are after him. Guys, 30 innings pitched in 40 Ks. The walks are a little maybe up in the 30 innings that you would want. But, guys, his off-speed shit as well, along with Danny Lachenmayer. Guys, they've gone up against high-level competition, this kid included in Santiago Garcia, that did some very special things. Guys, he picked him up and put him down. When he was on, he was on. Santiago Garcia is also the teammates of a former teammate of one Stephen Milam, both from Las Cruces, New Mexico. I think that Jay knows this young man very well. And when he was in the portal last year, I think that they wanted to go in a different direction. He goes to Oregon, has some really good, has had some really good outings. We also shared, I'm pretty sure we shared the clip of Santiago Garcia. If we didn't, we will if he commits to LSU. Guys, another lefty with some wild spin on that slider. Also throws a changeup. We saw on the film where it looked like he was throwing a circle change. It fell out. Kind of reminded me a little bit of a left-handed Zach Cowan, how that thing just sits in midair for a couple of seconds and just really dives down when it gets to the plate. Just gross. So I am definitely keeping my eyes on Santiago Garcia. I thought in the middle of the season for him last year, there was like a 2-week stretch of the 14 earned runs that he gave, or the 14 earned runs that he gave up last season. 7 of them came in 2 weeks. So I would be interested. So I have 2/3 of the season where he's locked down, and I have a bad 2-week stretch. You know what it kind of reminds me of too, in looking at this, speaking of Zach Cowan, remember when Zach Cowan had remember when Zach Cowan at the end of the season had a kind of a rougher 2-3 weeks, and then against Arkansas, he comes out and he absolutely shoves against Arkansas in the game which would lead you to getting to the College World Series final. Guys, he shoved for you. I feel like that's kind of, if there's something that just like pops in my mind, I kind of feel like that's it for me, because there was a very clear understanding of what LSU wanted, and in what LSU wanted, they wanted some lefties that can throw some serious shit, especially some serious off-speed shit. I think both of these kids can play. And I'm talking about Lachenmayer, and I think Garcia can play here. I think that they would be massive additions for you. Let's see what happens with Santiago Garcia. It's definitely something that they were going after. Now, LSU is also not done in the portal with pitching. We talked about him. Anthony B. Sain says he was getting rocked. I mean, he was for like 2 weeks, but guys, do y'all forget the 3.5 months when he wasn't? I'm sorry. Like, we just have such a small span of a kid that absolutely shoved for you. I'm being dead honest. That is not the only guy that they're going after. We talked about Landon Mack last night. Let's get in a little bit more detail. As a starting pitcher in 15 games started, he went 6-5 on the season with a 4.03 ERA, did Landon Mack at Rutgers a year ago. And 80 1/3 innings pitched, he gave up 81 hits, 36 earned runs, 17 walks, and 70 Ks. Guys, the biggest thing for me, the massive thing for me with Landon Mack that stands out like a sore thumb, 17 walks and 80 1/3 innings pitched. I don't care who you are. I don't care what conference you're in. I don't give a Rudy poo. That means that you're attacking the zone and that you're attacking the zone at a high level. There is a reason why Tennessee, there is a reason why Arkansas, Florida, Texas, and LSU are all after Landon Mack. Guys, here's what I'll tell you about Landon Mack from some things that I have heard. It feels as if that LSU at the current moment is in an outright dogfight with Tennessee mainly for Landon Mack. Now, the interesting thing about Landon Mack for me is this. He was at Tennessee, I think, like 6 or 7 days ago and did not commit, at least not yet. LSU was still in the final or going to a final. I think if Landon Mack gets on campus, I don't think he's leaving Baton Rouge without being committed. That's what I think. Now, if he does, if he doesn't, again, we'll wait and see. I think this dude can play. I think he can really pitch. There were a lot of moments last year in his first year as a starter. Guys, he was a freshman. This kid's only going to get better. The biggest thing for me is he was constantly around the zone, sometimes a little too much in the zone, like not wasting a pitch to then set it up to go get somebody. He's got elite stuff, and constantly being around the zone in any conference, in any league, in baseball plays. It's a massive player. You know, the last time that you went after a right-handed pitcher who kind of had moments where they, quote-unquote, got rocked, and at a smaller school, and maybe not necessarily a massive baseball school, but had so many innings that didn't walk a lot of guys. Guys, that person's name is Anthony Ianson. It's Anthony Ianson. So I look at a situation where Anthony Ianson was not a freshman, by the way. It wasn't his first year that you targeted this kid. I will say that there are new rules and avenues of how you do NIL moving forward. You have the house settlement case, you have TV revenue, and listen, I know that all of this is confusing, but LSU can use a lot of money from TV revenue when it comes to baseball, and I hope that they do that more than basketball, and I hate to say it like that, but it's just the truth. It's just the truth. Regardless of all of that, you are in an outright dogfight for Landon Mack. And if you put a gun in my head and said, Blake, choose, I don't know. I do not know where that one's going to go. We'll see. I really do hope that you're able to land him. Maybe another pitcher or two that we can go after. You know, I did see that another Oregon pitcher in Cole Stokes was in the portal. I guess let's wait and see. Guys, he was up to 99, 100. I need to get some more information. If LSU's really pushing for him, I don't know. If it were me, I would go after him. I need to find out if LSU's really attacking there moving forward. A lot of questions I've been getting. Let's move to some hitters here. A lot of questions that I fielded the past couple of weeks was about Bryce Callaway out of UNO. Bryce Callaway, let's just read off what he did last season in the Southland. He had 390 with 18 home runs, 63 RBIs, did strike out 60 times. Sheesh. 31 walks with 80 hits and 12 extra base hits. I think if LSU wanted Callaway, if they wanted Bryce Callaway, I do feel like they could get him at any point in time. I do think that he was waiting for you, but I think that there is some hesitancy here just based off of the way I feel and maybe some things that I've heard. If you wanted the kid would be here. And I think the hesitancy, for what it's worth, has a little bit to do with, guys, Dalton Beck killed the Southland last year, and Dalton Beck got, 7 at-bats for you this season? He is 6'5", 240. He's got light tower power. I do wonder if Jay is going to take a chance on Callaway. We'll see. I do think that you need power. Guys, one thing we haven't mentioned, because it's just been so early, and we will mention it in the previewing of baseball next year, where you're going to get your power from. Milam's a double-digit home run guy. I think Derek Curiel next year will be a double-digit home run guy. I think Jake Brown will be a double-digit home run guy for you next year. Can Simpson, can Dardar, can some of these other guys be double-digit home runs? Maybe, because you're still replacing 20-plus home runs with Bear Jones at first base. And if Callaway could do that and come in here and do that, that would be spectacular, because the 60 strikeouts in the Southland do worry me. Because I know that a lot of you would say, well, Bear Jones struck out a lot. Guys, against SEC pitching. And he played longer and in more games than Callaway did at UNO. It's a completely different thing. We will see there. I do not know. But, yes, I do think LSU is on him. I do think LSU has talked to him. Let me retract the verbiage. LSU has talked to him. Let's see where that one goes as well. All right, last here before we get to a break, I want to bring up Ryan McKay out of Michigan State. Hit .319 last year with 5 home runs, 28 RBIs, 11 stolen bases, 39 walks, and 20 doubles. Because Ryan McKay, who was in the infield for Michigan State last year, a lot of teams want him. I am keeping my eyes out on him. With Danny Dickinson probably leaving, I do wonder if you're hell-bent and determined on moving Tanner Reeves to second. Now, I do think you need some right-handed bats. I don't know how confident I am in McKay being a Tiger. I mean, I was told that LSU wanted and was in search of some power. If the rumors are true with Ace Reese hitting the portal, I think some of these guys, from a hitting standpoint, are going to get a little bit slow played that came or are from quote-unquote lower schools to see if some names really do get in the portal. And there will probably be a deadline from Jay that if they don't, okay, well, look, we need to go get some guys just in case. We will see there. But those are some guys that I'm also monitoring as the days go on. Let me give you one more that I'm also monitoring here. I talked to our buddy Bryce Kuhn today as well about this, because he knows more about Georgia Tech than anybody. Connor Schaus from Georgia Tech, the infielder and right-handed reliever, who was up to 95 last year on the mound. I know that there's been some buzz out there with him. We'll see there too. He's killing it in summer ball right now. But you have a lot of left-handed bats. Brown, Milam being switched, so half, I guess. Curiel, and you face a lot more right-handed pitching than you do left-handed pitching. So Brown, Curiel, Milam half of the time. Dardar, if Larson stays, whatever you do there, that's 5 that you would potentially want. And so we'll see where they go here. We'll see where they go.